Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Hello.
We got a full house here today. On with us, we got Heiko Voigt, myself, our special guest who we'll announce in a moment, Scott Mitchell and Graham Akers. Colin Breckles speaking, by the way. So let's get right at it. Heiko, who do we have with us today, and what is our topic?
Well. The topic today is, let's start with some acronym I just want to throw at you. We talk about a product formerly known as XCC. Now it's known as ICEC. So I guess all the IBM related fellows know what I'm talking about now. It's, for everybody else, it's the IBM Connections Engagement Center, which is a new addition to IBM Connections on-premises and in the cloud. The product is around for a couple of years already from a very successful business partner in Europe, Timetoact Group. And with us today, our special guest today is Felix Binsack. He's the CEO of the Timetoact Group in Germany, and for the whole consortium of companies that belongs to it. And also, he's the inventor of ICEC. He's like the mastermind behind the product before it came out. He just laid out the whole architecture for it, the features and functions, and brought it to market, and finally now turned it into an IBM product. And he will today tell us a little bit more about what ICEC is exactly, what you can expect from the product, and what the use cases are that the product was designed for. And we're really happy to have him on the show today.
Well, thank you very much, Colin, Heiko, for the very nice introduction. I'm glad to be with you. I've been to the Social Connections in Toronto, and I would always love to come back. Really beautiful country. Let's get started right away, and I will be sharing my screen. And we will start off with an introduction of ICEC. Let me get this. Yes, share my screen. Here we go. And we have got only a few slides to cover. I think it's about 140 that we will go through. No, just kidding. We will be rather quick going through these slides and then go into a live demo. This is me, Felix Binsack. I'm the inventor, as Heiko said, of XCC or ICEC for that matter, and the founder of the Timetoact Group. What is ICEC about, and why did IBM decide to not call it XCC anymore, but to call it the IBM Connections Engagement Center? And I did have to think about that for a little bit, and after thinking about it for a while, I really come to like the name, and I really like it very much because it is about the employee engagement and having the employees being really engaged with the company is just absolutely important for the company. If you compare just like Gallup, and they have been doing this study for, I don't know, almost 50 years now, the companies with the more engaged with the companies with the less engaged employees, you will see that the companies with the more engaged employees have like 41% lower absenteeism. They've got a 21% higher profitability, and so on. So employee engagement is really tremendously important. And you can, this is a link, you can just really look it up in your own country, what the employee engagement is. And for most countries, it is true that there's just as many people, as many employees actively disengaged with the company as there are employees that are really engaged. Which means it's just a bunch of employees in any company that are really frustrated so much with the company that they don't really care if it's making profit or if it's losing money or whatever. It's of course very hard to work with these employees. The question is, why are these why are so many employees so frustrated with companies? And one of the reasons, of course, is that they spend a lot of their time in the digital workplace, but that digital workplace really is a very, very poor experience in most companies. And that is because they have basically got three disciplines in the digital workplace. One is for the what the employees should know, which is usually driven by internal communications. It's like basically a top-down communication, and the internal communications usually use a web content management system for this. The next discipline and the next part of the digital experience is the collaboration, and many companies still use mail and file servers for collaboration, which are of course very, very poor at that. And then they've got linked lists basically for custom applications that are just really poorly integrated. Now companies started to replace mail and file servers with an enterprise collaboration platform, but the principal problem is still the same. These workplaces are not integrated. They are organized in silos, and employees really spend a tremendous amount of time in figuring out what they should be doing, what is really the current reliable information within an organization. They search the information and so on, this is just not very, very productive. It's very frustrating for the employees, and this lowers the employee engagement. So it is, of course, not easy to really integrate the internal communications and the enterprise collaboration people. It is quite difficult, because the internal communications people, they rather have it, the intranet, pretty and colorful and pixel perfect, of course, whereas the people responsible for enterprise collaboration, they rather have it functional and integrated. The problem, of course, is that when you have two completely different intranets, the one is in the propaganda mode, the other ones are trying to create networks, that they are competing with each other. They do have different requirements. The one is about top-down communication, the other one is about peer-to-peer collaboration. The one is mainly driven by the management. You could call it the management's internet. The other one is driven by the employees. You could call it the employees' internet. But the problem is, if you have got these two intranets and no or just very little integration, then you will drive the employees to internet schizophrenia. They will suffer from attention fragmentation because they will spend some time in the formal intranet that is driven by internal communication using a web content management system, and they will spend some time on the enterprise collaborative platform, which hopefully is using IBM Connections. But with these two platforms running side by side, you will inevitably have some content overlap. You might develop an idea in the collaborative platform, then publish it on the publishing platform, discuss it on the collaborative platform, rework on the collaborative platform, then eventually, yes or no, republish it again, and so on. But that content overlap, redundancy, and inconsistency is really frustrating to the employees, and it will cause government challenges to your organization, because managers always have to think about, should I be publishing the content as Mike, the manager, using IBM Connections, or should I be publishing the content as the manager Mike and just sending internal communications in email and asking them to put that on the website on my behalf. Some managers will decide to do it the one way, and the other managers will decide to do it the other way. And then, of course, users will be really challenged, because they have to be very much aware on whose content they're looking for, and for that reason, where they should be looking for that content. So the simple thing that if you think about it, that becomes very, very obvious, is that with more than one platform, there cannot be a single point of truth. It's just not possible. You can have two address databases, and you can have those address databases syncing. But if you've got just content, prose content, words, sentences, and paragraphs, and so on, you will not be able to keep those in sync if you've got more than one platform. And with more than one platform, there cannot be a single point of truth. Just a little side note, with Microsoft SharePoint, you've got so many places to put information, it's much, much more difficult to ever create a single point of truth, or I would say it's impossible to ever create a single point of truth with Office 365 or SharePoint. It's tremendously difficult. So what should a digital workplace really look like? What should a workplace look like that does not frustrate the employees? And it should be really integrated, which means all the three disciplines that you need in any digital workplace: internal communications, enterprise collaboration, and custom applications should be integrated into one. It should be seamless to navigate from one to the other. It should be all on one page or on pages, but pages separated by their task and not by their origin. And what should be on a page for an employee to fulfill their task, and not what is the origin of the content or the tools, and have the pages separated by that. And if you have such a platform, it could, of course, even extend beyond the company borders. You could have your supply chain and your partners integrated. You could integrate your customers. You could have the new employees onboarding, or you could integrate the keep in touch with the alumni, and have your alumni network attached to that. So it really can help you to be a connected company, not only among the employees of your company, but just as well beyond the company borders with the customers and partners and next and previous employees. And if you do manage to create one intranet, one digital workplace, which really unites these very different disciplines, what the employees should know, with the giving them the tools that they need to collaborate and to build networks, then your digital workplace will be something like your brain. In your brain, you have got the left side of the brain, which is responsible for more the structured information. The right side, which is maybe a little bit chaotic. It's got wild associations, but it's very creative as well. And then you've got the main brain, which is for the applications, just like the reflexes. So your digital workplace will be your company's brain. And integration really matters. And integration, of course, is much more important than getting another 5% out of a tool. Having a 5% better blog or 10% better wiki or whatever. It's not as important, by far not as important as having a really good integration. So how do we engage the employees with the ICEC? How does the ICEC help to engage the employees? Well, we got, compared to IBM Connections out of the box, 24 new use cases. And those 24 new use cases have got a lot to do with the internal communications in the broader sense. With internal communications in a narrow sense, but as well with, for example, creating an employee magazine, or doing something for the employee relations, or having a top managers or CEO office communications, or business unit communication. We have got new use cases that improve the already very good enterprise collaboration of IBM Connections. And we have got lots of use cases around the application integration. And for those folks responsible for running the IT platform, it really makes the life a lot simpler for them, because of course it's much simpler to just run one platform that serves multiple purposes than to run several platforms and having to integrate those. And with these 24 new use cases, we can really say we create new use cases for everybody within the organization. If you look at IBM Connections by itself, it mainly is for the knowledge worker. So the knowledge workers are usually those that pick up IBM Connections quite quick because they get an immediate benefit of using IBM Connections, provided they can create the critical mass to keep the thing really up and going by itself. But things become much, much easier if you pull in internal communications, because internal communications have got lots of very valuable information that it has got a very good quality, and that you do want to have on your internet. You don't want it to compete with your platform, but you want it to be on the same platform. And then you've got to create a stage for senior management so that they really can see that whatever they say actually is being followed, is being listened to by their employees, and that it doesn't make a difference what they're saying. So yes, we can use the platform to create them a real stage to give them the attention they deserve. You can create use cases for community and department managers, for the long tail of the organization, which internal communications with this web content management system usually never gets to. And then you've got the common staff and the traditional managers that well, they just want to get their task done quickly and efficiently, and don't really care about much else. You want to have use cases for them and get them in. And as I mentioned before, even the customers and partners, and even the blue-collar workers, the blue-collar workers that don't have a username and password to sign into a system, even those you can integrate into the platform with some specific use cases. For example, with something that they, some content that they can retrieve from their phone without having to sign in, just get the latest company news, or for example, have a large TV set in front of the cantina or in the factory hall with the company news, and the latest discussions are being displayed, and they can participate in that as well. So with all these use cases for IBM Connections, we really create a platform that helps to drive digital transformation within the organization. So we've got one and the same platform that is for the knowledge worker, as well as the communicator, the curator that shares the content from others, the contributors, and even the digital consumers. And it's just very important to get to the digital consumers. There's a lot of people within any organization that say, no, I'm not going to write a blog post. Yeah, I'm never going to write a blog post. Yeah, but if it's created nicely, yeah, if it's entertaining to me, and if the content is good, yes, then I will read your page. Yeah, and we got to create a platform, yeah, that addresses the needs, yeah, of these people as well, and that makes sure that these people don't easily drift away and get completely disengaged with the company. So the benefits from IBM Connections and the IBM Connections Engagement Centers, the ICEC really increases the IBM Connections usage and utilization. From the experience from our customers, we could easily say it increases the IBM Connections usage and utilization by roughly 100%. Some even more, and we've heard a lot of times feedback from customers. They say now with ICEC it's really pretty. Yeah, we can make it shine, we can make it look any way we want, and we want basically all of IBM Connections look like that. And yes, you can create lots of things with ICEC and IBM Connections. Another benefit is that with ICEC, we can really unite internal communications and enterprise collaboration. Usually these are a little bit fighting. Yeah? They're fighting over the employees' attention. They're fighting for the budgets to create the latest add-on for the platform. But even though if I'm usually pro-competition, in this case, I think the competition doesn't lead to anything good. if internal communications, enterprise collaboration units compete with each other. It's much, much better to have them united. Yeah, and then you can have, instead of the competition, you can have lots of new plays that are a mixture of internal communications and enterprise collaboration that are not just either or, but combine the best of internal communications and enterprise collaboration. And we will have use cases and showcases for that later on. We will obviously create a single point of entry with ICEC and IBM Connections, the main landing page for the employees, and this can be highly personalized and targeted to an employee's requirements. It will create a single point of truth, because with only one content store, it's much, much easier, of course, to create a single point of truth than having multiple content stores. And it does increase the employees' engagement. And for that reason, I really, as mentioned initially, do like the Employee Engagement Center as the name. Of course, there's different ways to use the ICEC, and we have identified 4 very different use cases. To the left is the kind of companies that really want to focus on communications. These companies are very much driven by this mindset of internal communications. The top-down communication is most important. It's the big arrow here, and the enterprise collaboration is the small arrow here, and the small horizontal arrow. Sometimes I've even noticed that these companies are a little bit afraid of introducing a tool as powerful as IBM Connections to the employee base. They are afraid that the employee base will then organize a revolt against the company leadership, anything like that, and say, yes, we think we buy the vision of having a single platform, but we want to start with internal communications for now, and create that, have enterprise collaboration for just a few employees at the beginning, and grow the employee base that uses the enterprise collaboration later on. With those companies, and I've seen quite a few of those, the usual experience is that once they start using ICEC, they can have the internet as a traditional internet, as they had maybe before with Adobe CQ5 or with WordPress or whatever, or Drupal, but the collaboration really grows fast on them. Then we've got companies that just want to improve a little bit of collaboration. So one example is ThyssenKrupp. They said, well, we just like to have nice landing pages for our big communities that are managed, and everything else stays within the traditional web content management driven intranet. What we have experienced is that over time, here's the time, these companies usually grow to the kind of companies that weighs communication and collaboration with IBM Connections and ICEC equally. ThyssenKrupp, for example, has now got like 300 communities with ICEC landing pages, and they've started to link these ICEC landing pages to each other, and make it much, much easier for employees that are not the digital natives to retrieve information, to consume information, even if they only spend a little bit of time in IBM Connections and not as IBM Connections itself, where you first need to follow the people and the communities before you actually get to see some content. So make it easier for the employees that are not digital natives, and bring structure to IBM Connections, and use ICEC for internal communication. And then, of course, we have got the companies that fully embrace our philosophy of the Digital Workplace Hub, where enterprise communication, internal communications, enterprise collaboration, and integrated applications are equally important. And let's stop right here and go into the live demo and have a look at what this could look like. So here we've got just a regular IBM Connections, and for example, on the right-hand side here, this case, it looks like ICEC has only been used to enhance the standard IBM Connections a little bit. So we have only got the breaking news here, and 95% of the page is still being used up by the enterprise collaboration as a standard. Companies that weigh the internal communications more, they would, for example, decide to create the landing page, the main landing page for the internet, the single point of entry, directly with ICEC, and this is what it could look like. So you have got your standard IBM Connections navigation. The activity stream, for example, has moved to an icon stream or to a word stream. Here you've got your activity stream, but if you click on the home page, then you get to see the landing page that is made up for you, which means it has got all the information that's relevant to you, starting with an overview of the organization, with the projects, applications, employee manuals, and procedures, and maybe the locations and so on. For example, the corporate news, and the corporate news could be from different organizational units. So this one would be from stores, whereas the previous one would be from the Global Communications Department. And it is important to understand that all the content in here has been created with IBM Connections and still got all the IBM Connections capabilities, which means you can like the comment and you can like the content, or you can comment on it, and you can like the comments and so on. You can comment on comments. So we've got the same capabilities as in IBM Connections, and everything that is being commented or liked here goes into the activity stream, which is a huge difference to when you run your internet on any other platform than IBM Connections. Then it will be a lot of work to integrate these two platforms, or you just will not notice that your colleague has just commented on a content that might be interesting to you, which means it will be much more difficult to get a real conversation going in any using any two platforms, much more difficult than using just one platform. You could have here, for example, the regional news for you, for the region you are in, and the business unit news for your business unit. Let me just go quickly into the edit mode. That, of course, usually only the manager of this page, could be the internal communications manager, or it could be somebody from the IT department can do. But here we can see that the personalization property in this widget has been checked. And if you go into the edit personalization, we can see that if my business unit is carding and yawning, I will get to see the content from the business unit carding and yawning. If it is design, I will get to see the one from design. If it's embroidery, I'm going to see the one from embroidery. And I could even use some Boolean operators. I could say, additionally, I need to be the employee type of full-time employee. Yeah, or I could use the Boolean operator, and it could say, I must not be a part-time employee. Otherwise, I could not see this content. And you could just very easily test who is going to get to see which content very easily. And this shows how extremely powerful the personalization is, and how simple it is to completely tailor the content that the employees are going to get to see based on their properties, based on their attributes, on where they're working for, what their roles are, what their interests are, and so on. So we have the capability to both target employees with specific content, and the employees would have, for example, the capability to set their preferences as well. So they could say, I'm going to set my preferences to human resources because I'm in human resources, and in the news for my interest, if I save this now, I would get to see the news for human resources. Here we can see the pages are automatically reloaded. So I can be, as a user, targeted with specific content, and I can personalize the content that is being displayed here to me based on my preferences as well, active and passive personalization. We would have a few other examples here. So let's click the employee magazine. I could have something like an employee magazine, which maybe complements a printed employee magazine. And in the printed edition, for example, you could have some QR codes. So if you want to know more to a certain topic, then you scan the QR code with your phone, and you will be directed to one of these articles, and you will have the all of the interaction capabilities of IBM Connections that you, of course, will never have in a print magazine. So that would be one use case. Another use case would be, for example, to have something like a CEO's office, where the CEO could get in touch with the employee base and narrow the difference, the distance between the employees and the CEO, where he could introduce himself and maybe introduce his team, and invite the employees to directly get in touch with him and to raise some topics and questions, or to vote on, create and vote on ideas, for example. Or for example, the CEO says, well, once a week I'm available for lunch, and you could just check here and said, I want to attend at this event, and then you could go to lunch with the CEO, something like a lunch roulette or something for the CEO. This is very popular in I think the United States and the Western world. I've introduced this to Asia, and they said, no, we don't want this. But of course, this is just one of the use cases that you could be doing with this. Let's have a look at a large page which gives a little bit of an overview of all the things that you could do. So as I mentioned before, a lot of the tasks that you can achieve with ICEC will be driven by internal communications. So again, maybe you have the corporate top news, or praising some employees for their work anniversaries, or having giving impressions from the last company run, where of course we all should have participated instead of sitting at the couch and eating chips. And or you could have the long tail of the business and service units and give them a stake, where internal communication itself would not really provide the content itself, but just provide the space for the service units and business units to publish their content. And it would just be collected here, for example. We could have links for the employees with the different business units and so on. Of course, all of this would be personalized, or files for these employees as well. And then we would have internal communications in a different role again, where they would not necessarily create the space or provide the space or create the content themselves. Here they would just be curating content. They would be picking the content which they think would be most relevant to the employees. So here they, for example, would republish whatever the CEO has got to say. And the CEO can then get all the attention from the employee base to his latest blog article, and see all the likes, or maybe all the disagreeing comments and so on. Or the internal communications could pick, for example, one employee's blog every week, another blog from one employee to really drive attention to that one employee, to thank the employee for actively participating in the enterprise collaborative platform, to have a discussion going on, for example, the telecommunications could pick a certain product, for example, and publish it here from the depth of IBM Connections. Just pick something and say, okay, this I want to drive the employees' attention to this. This is a product of the month, or you could have based on a search string, on a specific search string, the latest editions on a specific topic, and it would all be aggregated here. You could have, for example, the HR department gather feedback from the employee base. So the HR department could be asked, should we have a Christmas dinner or a New Year's reception this year? And the CEO says, I don't care, I just don't want the employees to complain afterwards. And that's basically how they all think. Of course, if you don't really engage your employee base, then in the end they will complain. So what better way do you have than to just publish this question? Should we have a Christmas dinner or a New Year's reception here on the home page? And then you could have the people discuss it. You could even say, okay, we need a decision in 2 weeks, please vote now. And after that, the decision will be made. It has been really in the employees' face for weeks and so on, and then nobody can complain anymore that they didn't know about it, or that they heard about it too late. And the decision, whatever it will be democratically funded or based, so that they cannot complain about it afterwards. You could have, of course, have some interaction as well. Here we've got an example that is being created with the IBM Forms Experience Builder, which is actually right now a product that has moved to HCL. But of course, it's still available, and it's not very expensive. It provides a lot of capabilities. And here, for example, you could then apply to a job and submit it to a workflow directly from this interface. And of course, you could create new ones as well, and all of that stuff. We have got one widget that is still that's something that is Timetoact proprietary. It's for example this org chart widget where you could look at the business units and so on. And of course, all the content you display here is being pulled from IBM Connections, so you don't have to double maintain this content. Is much easier. You could have applications in here where you have even widget-to-widget communication. So the CRM widget looks up content in the ERP widget, for example. Or here you have got a widget with a zip database, and it will communicate to this widget with Google Maps. It's very easy to create something like that. You don't need to have a server round trip, which is very slow in these days with the modern frameworks, JavaScript frameworks. You can have these widgets communicate to each other very easily and give them a portal-like experience. You could have a people finder, for example, or you could have a customer search, or maybe retrieve content from Salesforce, or from Watson Workspace, or from Box, or anything what you want. And of course, for Salesforce, Workspace, or Box, you would have to do a little bit of coding yourself. And let's go into the properties. Actually, this is not one coded anyhow. You do have the capabilities to do the coding. Just let me go here. That's much better. You can just go in here, do the coding in here, you would have the JavaScript and so on, and you've got the integrated editor, so you could do the coding in here. For those platforms that require their own authentication, we would recommend using a Node.js server to handle the authentications for the user. We would have some personal information, for example. Again, you could be setting your own preferences for your landing page. You could see a calendar with all the events for your business unit, for your location, for the corporate top events. Likewise, you could see the news for your interest. You could see your quick links. You could create yourself a few quick links. You could create yourself or quick links to your files or notes, and maybe even again integrate your activity stream on this page, or add external content from any external website using a clipping widget, or pulling in Facebook or RSS feeds or weather or whatever you have, or integrate Dilbert, which is of course very easy to have that some entertaining content on your homepage. So nobody in their right mind would create a page this long, but I would really, this is just for demo purposes of what you could be doing. And additionally, of course, you could have wherever you are within IBM Connections, such a flyout page, for example, that has got the most important tools that you need throughout the day. What should you be doing if somebody walks in with a gun into your company or whatever? If you're injured, if somebody's injured and so on, or maybe the stock or the product number search, whatever, and that page would be available wherever you are within IBM Connections. You could always have this tool page, for example, available. You could, as I mentioned before, provide all of this content anonymously as well for users that don't have a username and password, or if you want in the lobby of your company have a huge display of the latest news. And of course, you don't have to use the same content as for those authenticated users. You could just have a subset of the content that you actually do want to publish into the hotel lobby. So let me see. Actually, I do have a few examples with different layouts. I haven't opened them a long time. I don't know if actually I don't. Oh, here's a colorful. If the latest releases of ICEC have changed anything with the CSS, no, they still work. So you can completely customize the layout, the look and feel of your intranet very easily. All what you need is really to have basic CSS skills, and you don't need to really take classes for that. It's so simple. Anybody that can use WordPress or any other tool, will be able to customize this just as easily. Here, for example, we've got IBM Connections Cloud and ICEC. In this example, we have integrated the IBM Connections navigation, which is available here under collaboration, and the navigation for my company, for my business units, for my service units, and so on, and merged all of that into one navigation. In this example, for example, the logo gets smaller as you scroll down, but which is even more interesting, relevant is that if you narrow this, if you've got, for example, a tablet, then the navigation will move to the side, and if you narrow it even more, it will turn into a one-column layout with all the widgets below each other instead of besides each other. So these are a few examples of how you can integrate communication and collaboration on one page, and instead of having these two platforms compete with each other for content, for the employees' attention, for budget, and so on, really integrate these two together and create new new examples of what you could be doing. One example is one of our customers noticed that they have all got links to the in different areas of the company to the automobile industry, and they noticed that at the end of the week the world's largest automobile show would start, and they said, okay, we really want our employee base to be aware that, yeah, we make 20% of our revenue with the automotive industry, and simply created a landing page with information on what they're doing and what they're showing at the automotive fair, but as well creating collaborative spaces where people could post the impressions from the affair and so on, and you could not do this with a communication tool, and you could not do this with a collaboration tool. Only with the combination of the communication and collaboration you can really have these use cases. Another use case just mind is they had a new logo. And they wanted to be this new logo, the new company logo, to become popular with the employee base very fast. And they asked the employees to print the logo, to cut it out, and to take a picture of themselves with the company logo. And the best pictures, the nicest pictures, would be get a reward from internal communications department, and the employees took the pictures and went to the top of the mountain and hold the logo up, and I don't know, they would take a picture of their cat with the logo and stuff like that, and within a week they had hundreds and hundreds of employees showing themselves with a new company logo. All the other employees looked at it, they voted for the best pictures, and the best pictures, I don't know, they got a bottle of champagne or something like that. It was very inexpensive. It really helped the internal communications department to drive the new logo, the adoption of the new logo very much. So lots of examples of the additional benefits that you can get from having an integrated communication and collaboration platform, and of course not to forget the applications as well. So enough said, I guess.
yeah, we broke our rule. We're way long here. All good stuff, but we were trying to make a not as long, so we should try and wrap. I'm guessing that's where you were close to there.
Yeah.
So if you've got anything else that you want to add, or do we want to jump right to questions?
No, this is as I said, is enough said. Please, ask questions.
Felix say something natural, like he was naturally rapping, like we didn't just get out the hook and rip him off stage.
Right. Say the same, yeah.
So we'll take a big pause, and then Felix, if you want to maybe quickly talk to what's on your screen, and then transition to wrapping up like it was natural, and we'll edit out us taking the hook and ripping you off stage.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I don't know what you mean by what is on my screen, but.
Well, the part you were just talking to. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well. So. As my use cases show, I think this demonstrates that you have got a lot of benefits that come from an integrated platform where you can use communication tools, collaboration tools, and applications all on one page. And it's much better to have these platforms being integrated instead of competing with each other. Enough said. Sorry for taking up too much time. And yeah, please go ahead and ask your questions if you have any.
Thanks, Felix. It was great. I mean, I know you're really passionate about your product, and I guess everybody could see that today, that you're still burning for it, even if it's not your product anymore. But anyways, I think it will always be your baby, I guess. One question that came to my mind when I looked at employee targeting and personalization is, do I have to add anything to IBM Connections to make this targeting work? Is there something that I have to do to the LDAP stuff that I have to do, or is everything that you use in ICEC already part of the Connections stack?
Yeah, everything that we use is part of the IBM Connections stack, what we would recommend is that you use a standard mechanism that IBM Connections provides to extend the IBM Connections profile schema. So you could add your business unit, you could add a drop-down field, for example, with the business unit. You could have a location, or maybe your interests and so on. And then use our widgets to have the employees select their business unit, their location, and their interest. That is if you want to have active personalization. If you want to have passive personalization, for example, are you a full-time staff or a part-time staff, you can just use ISIM, IBM Connections Identity Manager that comes with IBM Connections, and push that LDAP attribute, if the employee is a full-time or part-time, from the LDAP to the IBM Connections profiles. The user will inherit the value. It will not be able to change it. It will be in their profile, but they will not be able to change it. And you can use that attribute to target them with specific content.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. More questions, guys?
I got a softball question for you, Felix, that I know you'll like to answer. How quickly, I'm not talking about planning a production, but if, say, a customer's got a dev server for connections and they'd like to add ICEC in so that they can experience it, how long are we typically saying it takes to stand up ICEC and have a working environment that a customer can see and try?
30 minutes. Actually, less than 30 minutes. You can go to.
It's okay. You don't have to show
training.
us.
Okay.
Oh, you were going to show the pre-exist. Sorry. I thought you were talking about.
No, I'm saying you can go to the training videos and it shows you how to implement IBM Connections Engagement Center. And I think Michael is doing here. He starts it, I don't know, minute 20 or something, and in minute 35 he's finished with the implementation. So it's really easy to do so.
Beautiful.
Just follow this video.
Okay, we'll make sure that we put these links into the YouTube description, so everybody at least has the option to get to them.
Yeah, it has changed a little bit. One of the things that has been created with IBM was an installer, but I think it's even easier now than it's here. But of course, it's well documented, and there's this knowledge center from IBM, and yeah, people should look at that. And we have had more than half of our customers implement IBM Connections Engagement Center without any help from us, just by reading the manual. Of course, there's some lazy ones that don't read the manual where we did the work, but it's extremely fast.
As always. More questions, guys?
I'm good.
Dev. So talk to us about AppDev, Felix. That's something that's going to be true to any developer's heart.
Application development. AppDev, I understood properly. Application development, yes. Well, there's multiple ways to enhance ICEC. Of course, what The easiest way is if you go into customize, you can go into the IBM Connections Engagement Center settings, and here you've got the customization files. You can upload new files, so you can just select them or drop them here. You can upload your graphic files or your XML or JavaScript files. You can edit those JavaScript files directly in here, for example, if you want to, or you can copy paste it and so on. You could even customize your language. You don't need to restart the server at any point. You can, for example, go into the page management and take any certain page, copy that page, then apply to that page a different CSS, modify the CSS until you are completely fine with the looks or with the JavaScript, with the functionality. And once you have the approval from your management, you save this page under the old name. It will replace the old page, and you will have a new feature without having to restart the server or anything like that. So you can do a complete relaunch. You can do a side-by-side update in whatever you have, without having to stop the server or without having to have an interruption of just 1 minute. You can create your custom widgets. Here we've got a list of the widgets. If you upload your own JavaScript files, then, for example, this is a PLZ search, which should be a zip search for the zip code. And this is not part of the standard IBM connections. It's one of the custom widgets that the developer has developed, and your widgets will show up in here just as well. And as mentioned before, you just go to those training videos and see an introduction on how to create your own custom widgets.
Thank you.
Good stuff. A lot of good stuff. So Felix, I guess that wraps it up pretty nicely. Thank you very much for this demo, and also for the use cases that you mentioned. I guess these are important as well for a lot of our.
Heiko, let's do this again without screen sharing.
Okay.
So Felix, if you stop sharing your screen, then Heiko, just repeat exactly what you were going to say, but our faces will be bigger on the video.
If I remember what I was talking, how can I remember what I was talking?
It was pure genius you were spewing.
It was fantastic.
Okay, so we'll just take the long pause again, and then we'll kick it off again. Okay. Okay, Felix, thank you very much. I think there was great content and lots of things that our community really needs to know. Thanks for the use cases and also for the demo. I think it was really impressive. I know you could have been going on for at least another 2 hours or so.
Sorry for running over time.
A little nifty detail that's in the product, and we will have the chance probably to do that in a later session. But thank you really very much for your time. I know you're pretty occupied all the time. I know that, so we really appreciate it for you to be here on the show today. And if there's no more questions from you guys all out there, I want to thank Felix again and wrap it up today. And yeah, we'll okay, forget about that. I'll just redo that.
Okay. Well, let me talk about the comment and subscribe thing at the end. Just let me.
Yeah, and the blog post for questions.
Yeah. Okay. So, Felix, thank you very much. I think that was a great presentation. Thanks for telling us about the use cases and doing some very intense demos for us as well to really show the functions and features of ICEC. As I said, I probably think you could talk about 2 hours more about the product and all the nifty details that you have.
So, sorry for going over time.
No problem. I think it was a good thing. And I know you're pretty occupied and it's a time-consuming thing to talk about this and to prepare everything for that. So thanks a lot for that. And I think that concludes it from me. And Colin?
Yep. Thank you so much, Felix, and to my fellow C3UG organizers. You guys are amazing. Viewers, if you don't mind clicking the subscribe button, give us a like, throw us a like for the video. And finally, once you're subscribed, click the bell icon so you're notified when new videos come out. Thanks for taking the time to watch, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. See you.